everyone to the Healing Half. My name is Mickey Spear, and this is the half an hour show that we do every single Tuesday where we get to take a quick little bite out of our week to pause and learn how can we help address our own wounds, be a little inspired like you will today, as well as learn how to help others with theirs. Now, we have an amazing guest with Scott Greenhut coming up, but before we get to him, for those of you who don't know me, I just wanted to introduce myself and give two quick announcements. So my mom passed away when I was 13 years old, and I spent the better part of a decade pretending I was fine, keeping people at arm's length, and really trying to buy into that lie that I am strong, therefore I can do this on my own. And as you know, that doesn't work. That never works. So eventually, about again, kind of that 10-year mark after my mom died, is when the grief finally caught up to me and I could not run anymore. So I started finally going to counseling and really processing that. And I realized how much sweeter life is on the other side of processing. Not that grief ever goes away, of course not. So since that time, that was several years ago, now I wanted to start a show where we take just, like I said, a quick little bit where we can focus on learning about how to heal our own wounds, continue to process those hard emotions, whether it's grief, depression. We're going to be talking a lot about weight loss and exercise today and chasing your dreams. Man, this show is going to be awesome. So that's what the show is. It's so great to have you here. If you are not on my email list, that link is going to be in the comments. It's mickyspear.com. Make sure you head over there. I just send out one little email a week, and it's going to have the show notes, how to connect with our guest, and the replays and other things that you need to be aware of. So stay tuned for that. And on that note, I wanted to give a huge thank you to all of you guys who wrote reviews for my book, My Heart Still Remembers. It's absolutely been such a blessing. As you know, there were scammers and they can go on and leave 1-star reviews, but Amazon was taking down my family reviews, which was really frustrating because they actually had bought the book. So anyways, for all of you guys who went on and left a review, that makes a huge difference. And I'm so grateful for you for joining me in my fight. So I hope you had a fantastic Labor Day weekend. If you are listening, mention below in the comments that you're listening and where you're calling in from, so Scott and I can go through and kind of see who's all here. Whether you're watching live or as a replay, we are just so grateful that you are here. And after Labor Day, of course, it's kind of getting into the fall season, but I'm not ready to say goodbye to summer just yet. And I have a new song. It's coming out like within the days. So make sure you are on my email list. So you are the first one to get this upbeat, fun song. I can't even play it on guitar. It's that upbeat and it's very poppy. Where my other stuff, as you probably know, is a little more somber. So speaking of workouts, which we'll talk about a little bit more with Scott, this is going to be a fantastic workout song. It's uplifting. It's fun. I just can't wait to share it with you guys. So if you are not on my email list yet, make sure you head to mickyspear.com. It's going to be released within the week, and I cannot wait to share kind of the last drops of summer, in my opinion, with you. And speaking of email lists, another thing to just be aware of is I am turning this show into a podcast, which means you'll be able to listen to the replays of all of these episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio app, wherever you listen to your podcast. So the show is still going to continue on Tuesday nights. It's still going to be, every Tuesday. But for those of you who missed episodes, you can go back and listen to previous episodes while you're driving and kind of walking and doing all that stuff, because I know it can be difficult to watch it live sometime. So if you have any friends out there who you've been trying to get to watch the show, they just haven't had the time yet, make sure they're on my email list or that you're on my email list. So that way you can push the podcast to them and say, hey, remember that show I was telling you about? Well, now you can listen on the go. So again, that's going to be called The Healing Half with Mickey Spear, and that's launching this week too. So prayers welcomed, you guys. It's so exciting to be kind of venturing into some new chapters. So we are just so grateful for how far the show has come, and I just can't wait to add this component to it. But I will still see you Tuesday night, so don't freak out. I'm not going anywhere. We've got a lot of fun stuff left ahead. And speaking of fun stuff, you are going to love our guest tonight. He is a riot. He is so much fun. And his story is so inspirational that I know you will be motivated to get up and get after your dreams after this. I'll let Scott introduce himself and his story, but as the title of the show implies, how can we use our loss for the better? How can we turn the terrible things that have happened to us for good and use that as motivation to really change our lives? I'll let Scott answer those questions. So, Scott, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, Mickey, thank you so much for having me on your show today. I'm really excited.
Oh, it is such an honor to be here, and your story is so unique. It is so incredible. I think it's probably best we just start with you sharing that.
All right, how about I please just start, huh? That was bad. I know that was bad. Hey, everyone. So my name is Scott Greenhut, and I am, before the pandemic started, I started my journey as an inspirational speaker. Long story short, I'm the last person living in my immediate family. My mom passed away from, was started as breast cancer when I was 12 years old. My dad passed away in August of 2017 after being on dialysis for 7 years. And my sister, unfortunately, she lost her 8-year battle with ocular melanoma on February 1st of 2019. So as I said, I'm the last person living in my family, and I'm, you know, bad things happen to us, but as Mickey just talked about, what can we get from it and share our perspective and our story to hopefully inspire others. And I was very fortunate between my dad and sister passing away that I was able to lose 110 pounds on my own, working out and eating healthy. I tried all the diets before, and there's nothing wrong with different diets, but everybody's body is different. So I finally I just kind of shut up, and hashtag please just started as that became my mantra and my hashtag. I don't want it to just be a hashtag on social media. I'd like it to be a way of life for people. And so I'm, excited to share my story. And as of now, I'm, close to 800 days in a row on my elliptical. And I just want to share everything I've been through. There's way more we can, get into in a conversation wise, but kind of my story is about weight loss and, I saw my future. My dad begged me every day. It wasn't like he said it once or twice. He said in his Gordon voice, may he rest in peace, Scat, when are you gonna lose weight, my boy? You're gonna be just like me, Scat. It was like every day, Scat, when are you gonna lose weight, my boy? So it unfortunately took me walking in his room in the hospice, seeing him passed away on his deathbed for me to see my future. He was kind of like my personal martyr, I have to say. He had told one of his friends that that I was never going to lose weight until he passed away, and I didn't know that was going to be the case. But I literally 4 months and a day after he passed away is when I started my journey, and I've missed 23 as of from right now. I've missed 23 days so far since starting my journey on Monday, December 11th of 2017. So I just want to get in the nitty gritty of everything and share my story and inspire others to hashtag please just start something you want to do before it's too late in life. And we can talk about my quote in a little bit, but that's kind of my story in a nutshell, and I'd like to talk about it.
Well, we are so grateful to have you here and to share your story. And I am so sorry for all of your losses. That's heartbreaking. And I feel like we all lose so many people, but rarely are we really the last ones in our family, especially in your 30s. You're not in your 80s. And so I guess kind of the question that I wanted to start off to just kick it off is, let's maybe go back to like the very beginning of your loss journey with your mom's loss, because that was kind of obviously we can relate so much in that sense. Can you kind of give an insight on how your being that we're talking about weight, and how did your behaviors change after your mom died?
Yeah, so definitely food was a coping mechanism, and I think excuses, feeling sorry for myself, and then not necessarily raising my hand and saying, "Hey, everyone, I lost my mom. Please feel sorry for me." But I think a lot of the way, but I don't say energy, but the way I gave off and not talked about my story, because that was my story then, but my story has just like exploded since then of grief, loss, and everything. But I know I'm not the first 12-year-old to lose a parent, but in where I grew up, no one talked about it. Like I as I told you before we came on here, I'm wide open. I've always been wide open because I personally don't know another way to be. Other people are more not secretive, but maybe not be as wide open as me and keep things to themselves, and that's absolutely fine. But I wouldn't know how to do that. I just share my story, whatever it is. And now, unfortunately, it's cemented in what it is. I'm the last person in my family. I lost 110 pounds, and I want to be every time I get to share my story, no matter what platform, I'm just grateful and excited to share, because then I get to talk about my family. When you talk about them, they stay alive. That's the way they stay alive. So through photos, memories, and dates, and speaking about them. So I'm grateful for you, and for anytime I get to speak on in any level about it. So I think just feeling sorry for myself, because even one time numerous years ago when my dad was still alive, though I don't want to paint him in a fully negative picture, but it was like, yeah, Scott, feel sorry for yourself. Yeah, like I always did. And it literally took walking my life changed even more when I walked in seeing him laying there. I don't say dead, but seeing him laying there dead, it was as peaceful as I've ever seen him in my life. It always felt like he thought people were just like out to get him. It was weird. Like, he was a criminal defense attorney for 36 years, working for himself in not the best part of town. So he was always needed, by people who maybe just got out of jail and did walk-ups to his office and everything. But with that, you might think people are just coming, all you see is negative. People always need you for not say negative things, but for something where if they need you like that all the time, then he has a different mentality, than like me. I'm not innocent, but the mindset is just, mindsets are just different. And that's another thing. My mindset has just changed. I realized I no longer had an excuse, even when we talked about my mom, but up until my dad died, I could use him as an excuse for anything in my life as well. When I don't have him anymore, even literally seeing him laying there, passed away, is when I realized it's up to me and me alone for my happiness, for anything that I wanted in life. No more excuses. So all that to say, probably the excuses, that's probably one of the biggest things, is like no more excuses from, because I talk about dates and numbers and all that. It was 19 years, 1 month and 3 days apart were my parents passing away. Everything, like I told you before we got on here, everything is just so close with dates and stuff that there'll be months with nothing, and then boom, 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 boom. July 7th was this past July 7th, about 2 months ago, was 23 years for my mom. So, and then my dad's in August, like I just 19 years, 1 month and 3 days. So it's like everything is near each other, and it brings back and it was 23 years for my mom, but just 4 months later for my dad. So all of those 19 years that was pent up or whatever, it comes out now with that 9 days shy of a year and a half after my dad dies, and my sister dies February 1st of 19. So they're all like connected. Of course they're connected, but even date wise, every half year for my dad will be close to a full year for my sister, 9 days difference. So and vice versa. So they're really connected for the rest of my life, of date wise in my head. So that's mindset change, I think, is one of the biggest things with loss, and realizing like the petty little things that make us mad. And to this day, I some days, I sit here and say, don't let it do that to you, but it still does it to me sometimes. But I think in general, I've tried to let that roll off my back more than I used to. We get pent up so easily and so distraught so easily. It's like one day, not to be so morbid with this thought, even though I know it's a good medium that we're talking about here, but like none of that will matter. None of the little petty stuff will matter at the end of the day. And so I'm not perfect with it, but I try to have that mindset as much as I can. Like, this may bother me right this minute, but really, Scott, it's really not that big of a deal, whatever it is.
Well, I so appreciate you sharing that. There's so much that you just talked about. I was like, oh, there's like 12,000 things I want to go back and talk about. So, to that point with the mindset, let's drill in on that a little bit because you can't talk about weight loss and all that stuff without mindset. So, we'll get to mindset. But in the regards to mindset of grief, you mentioned a little bit about how your dad, I mean, obviously, he had an influence on you. He was your only parent after 12, and no parent is perfect. And it sounds like there is obviously some issues, but he's still your dad. You still loved him, but there were some hard words said and maybe some tracks that play in your brain. So I guess my question is for those of people out there who have lost a parent or any family member that they perhaps had, I don't want to say bad things to say, but there was definitely hurtful things that happen. As a mindset, how do you still miss a person and forgive them at the same time?
Okay, so you and I have not talked about this, but so this is kind of with my dad, my story in a nutshell, full circle. So my mom dies when I'm 12 in July of 98. So I'm 12 years old. It's between I keep saying July. It was between my 6th and 7th grade. Then that November, I went with my grandparents to see my aunt in Daytona for Thanksgiving. And at the end of the trip, they're like, Scott, do you want to move with your aunt here in Florida? I was getting bigger and bigger. My dad wasn't really around. My sister was like my parents. She cooked for me. My dad was kind of like MIA. He was out at that point dating and stuff like that. So this is kind of interesting that you brought this up. This was not prompted or anything, but this will tell you full circle. I don't know if I'm going to answer it, but exactly in my story, you'll understand. It's just I don't know how to describe it, but here I go. Okay, so I was like, no, I don't. I'm very comfortable. I'm happy here. This is home, even though my mom just passed away. This is home and everything. So I'm getting bigger and bigger. I'm still playing in the rec basketball league. I scored 2 points the whole season. You would have thought I hit the championship shot at the buzzer because everyone got really excited when I hit my one basket. But anyway, so my sister was coming with signs and excited for me to go, Scott. All these. She was working 2 jobs. She was a junior in high school, working 2 jobs, putting food on the table for me. Like I said, my dad was MIA. And then late February, it was a Thursday night, and he goes, Scott, you're interrupting my dating life. You're going to go move with your aunt Marcia in Florida. And I went to go slug him, and I had family friends over who got in between me. Like I went and moved my hand back and everything. Like I'm 13 at this time now. My birthday's November, so I'm so distraught and everything. So all that, like it was really bad, and things can be really bad. And time, they say time heals wounds. So time, but so I go move with my aunt, and I'm there 2 years. I'm like crying to him all the time on the phone. Bring me home. I promise I'll be good. I mean, I wasn't bad. I was a 13-year-old who just who missed my mom, and he's out dating and gallivanting at this time and all that after she passed away and everything. All that to say, I was the only person in the world there for him on his before his deathbed. But like, he cried on his deathbed, thanking me for everything I did for him. So I don't know exactly how to answer the question because everyone's different, except to share my story and my perspective of like, that, like you said, you only have one parent, you have one mom, one dad in this scenario. And he was not perfect, but he did the best he could. And in my eyes at the time, it wasn't good. And looking back, it's like he could have done better. Maybe not. Maybe he did the best he could. And I don't know. We had closure. So if we hadn't had that closure, I don't think I'd be here now. Because as I told you before we started the show, I would if I wouldn't be here now if I hadn't changed my everything. I lost 110 pounds. I do 10 miles every single day on my elliptical that I'm breathing. If my body's able to do it, I'm going to do it because it's the one thing I can't control. We can't control a lot of things in our lives, but it's the one thing I can control. I can control what I put in my mouth to eat because it's not that I enjoyed that cake. I only ate it for, to nourish, to not my soul, but to nourish my emotions and my pain and everything. Because after I ate it, I was like, Scott, what are you doing? You didn't really want that, but I was so looking forward to it. I haven't had dessert, fast food, or fried food since February of 18. Now, I'm not telling anyone else to do that, but that's that's me. And I would have McDonald's for lunch and Burger King for dinner and get Burger King for me and my dad. He'd be like, whopping no mayonnaise, my boy. So like, so to answer your question, it's like full circle. Time, I guess, can heal those kind of wounds. They can't heal. I mean, you're never healed from loss. Like you said, it's always evolving and it's different part of seasons and different things with emotions and thinking about it because it's always going to be there. I never wake up one day I always think every day I'm fortunate enough to wake up. I think about how, my mom, dad, and sister aren't here, but like, how can I do the best I can while I'm here? And please just start whatever it is. What's on your heart, what's on your mind, something you think about constantly, whatever. Because my quote on the back of my card says, in the back of my shirt here says, don't wait for something negative to happen in your life for you to make the positive change you always think about. Now, a few times I've gotten to speak, I say that and then I say, let me repeat that. And I'll try to do it a little slower. Don't wait for something negative to happen in your life for you to make the positive change you always think about. I wanted to lose weight. My biggest regret in my life is that my dad could not see that I weigh around a little under 160 right now. I was over 270 when he passed away. So it's not about the number per se, but like I lost 110 and I'm trying to maintain around, doesn't have to be on the dot, but I'm trying to maintain around there because I know this is where I'm happiest when I not just look in the mirror, but mentally, everything that comes around with it. So again, I go on tangents and everything, but to answer your question, like I think closure has really helped with that. We had that closure because it was not great. It was not great at times at all. And I'm not going to paint that he was this perfect guy that he's not here anymore at all. But like he was kind of like my rock and I was his rock. We definitely we needed each other. We were more like brother. I lived with him until he passed away, but like we were more like roommates, like brothers. I was feeding him I was dipping his chicken nuggets in barbecue sauce for him and putting it in his mouth for him at the end. Like he had no strength in his arms. So like I was like his big brother. He was like my little brother at the end. So, we come in a baby and a lot of times we leave a baby no matter the age, So the closure we had probably is how I was able to lose my weight and now share my story in as positive a light as I can with every hardship I've been through. And then, time and stuff. Cause like from him saying, you're interrupting my dating life. This is like 8 months after my mom died. So you're shipping me to Florida, but that's part of my story. And I don't want to talk negative about my aunt, but it was awful with her. It was, and I appreciate it more now that I'm older that she did that, but it was just so negative. And I don't mind talking about it, but I don't want to put anyone in a negative light and don't want to sit here and, I got a microphone in my, face, so to speak. I don't want to be negative, but I definitely didn't appreciate it much then. I didn't appreciate a lot of tactics that were happening then. But with my dad, now that he's not here, and I knew for a long, like the thing is, I've known my mom, dad, and sister all weren't going to be here that long with all their ailments. My mom had breast cancer and moved to the liver and then brain tumors, and she fought for a month shy of 8 years. My dad was 7 years and a month on dialysis, and my sister was 8 years and a week with ocular melanoma. Again, to me, I know everyone like doesn't care about the numbers and all that, but that's my story. So I touch on it a little bit because the numbers help me grieve still and all that stuff, because like all of them are near each other of times, they were suffering and stuff. And I see what everyone went through. And now, unfortunately, with me being the last person here, it's my story to try to share them as much as I can and their story and inspire others. Everyone thinks everyone's going to have forever until it's gone. But please just start so that you don't have the regret I do waking up every day without my dad being able to see what he begged me to do. And that's why I have a story, I feel like.
Oh, well, I thank you so much for that. I feel like that's such good information and for all of us to keep in mind where it's like, this is what I talk about in my book, My Heart Still Remembers, which is such a great tie to your story because one of the chapters is about legacy. And I always say legacy is twofold. It's like the good that we want to continue, but also kind of acknowledging that the person that died was a person and they weren't perfect. And I feel like our culture always wants to just paint them as angels. And it's like, well, wait a second. When we paint somebody as an angel, we miss out on the opportunity to learn from them and from their struggles and their mistakes. So as I listen to your story, obviously you lost your dad, your sister, your mom. It's all so heartbreaking. How did you, I guess, in addition to the weight loss, incorporate that same mentality with your mom and your sister? Like, do you carry on, or I guess stop activities inspired by them?
So, you know, just like with dates and stuff we talk about with my mom. I mean, I remember her. I was 12. I'm 35 now. I was 12, but like she was fighting her almost my whole life. She found out like right around my sister's birthday. In fact, when this is going to be aired, my sister's birthday will have been just a couple weeks ago. She will have turned 40. So would have turned 40. So right around now, 24 years ago is when my mom found out she had cancer. I was 5 when almost I was 4, almost 5 when my mom was diagnosed with cancer. I remember getting the call. We were at my grandparents' lake house at the time. I remember where I was. I was like, cancer? Like I remember hearing about it and like knowing it wasn't good, but obviously I didn't know everything about it and everything. And so just being like the as much as like, yeah, I'm far from perfect, but like a kind-hearted person, remembering dates and birthdays, and just like that's kind of my mom. Everyone says lately people have talked about my laugh lately, and I'm like, that was my mom. My mom had the like loud giggle or whatever, and people are like, I just love your laugh. I'm like, thank you, thanks to Harriet, my mom. And so and then that's kind of, not that there wasn't more with my mom, but that's kind of like the more. I'm sure I took a lot more, but that's the stuff I just remember off the top of my head right now, and they're all great things. And again, I don't say she wasn't perfect, but like she was just her tenacity, her fighting for her family, to be there for her family as much as she could, never giving up. And so I don't want to give up myself, so this that. And same with my sister, with not giving up. She tried all these different trials. And my mom was very selfless. My sister was very selfless. When she kind of knew at the end, we didn't know Friday, February 1st of 19 was going to be the day, but we knew it wasn't that much longer. She was even trying trials for other people so that they could have a better outcome than her. And she, like I said earlier, when my dad was like, I was interrupting his dating life, Melissa was there for me. She cooked for me. She was a junior in high school. Imagine like being a junior in high school, having a little brother and taking care of him. She made sure I had food. She had 2 jobs, was in musical theater, and I was only in musical theater when I was in high school because she was. And so it was just she was the absolute best. She was my best friend. And I'll tell you this, the last, and I don't want to paint her in a bad light because this has nothing to do with her. This is what she was going through. But my sister and I only spoke on the phone 4 times the last 8 months of her life. She kind of wanted me to get ready for, and I didn't understand it. I was like sad, but I was never mad at her because one thing I really learned even through the pandemic and everything that I really want to start sharing to other people is, and inspiring other people not to do, is to judge people. And my sister had a fiance. She lived in New York, had to go to Philly for treatment all the time. She took a train. She had a glass eye because she had to get rid of one. She had to get rid of when she found out that she had ocular melanoma the last week in January of 11. Within a week and a half, her right eye was out. She decided to go that route, and she had a 70% chance of the cancer coming back on the liver. It wasn't going to be liver cancer, but it was going to be cancer on the liver. I don't know the science behind it. It's just it is unfortunately what it is. So and unfortunately, the 70% came back, and then she fought, and there's a little time where the things were better for a little bit, and then it came back, went all over her back, went all over her everywhere. And I went to visit her because she was going to be in Pittsburgh for a month, trying to get all of her cells out of her body and re-put them in to try to fight the cancer and see this one last ditch effort. And this was May and June of 18. So a little backstory of that: she always said, Scott, don't show up in Philadelphia. No surprise visits, nothing. Well, for Pittsburgh, she didn't say anything. So I knew she was going to be there a month, laying in like a hospital bed in a hospital for about a month. So I just said, I'm going to go for one night, go check on her. We don't have parents anymore. It's my brotherly duty to go check on her. I thought I'd get a slap on the wrist and she'd say, Scott, just shut up while I sleep and get rest, and when I will visit for a little bit. She screamed at me And again, I only share this because she was human. She screamed at me, told me to get the blank out and all this stuff. And I was upset. I was sad, but I was never mad at her because I don't know what it was like to be fighting for my life at 37, have a fiance who I was leaving behind, and a little brother who no longer was going to have family around. So that's why I shared that, not to talk bad about her, because I was never mad at her. I was sad that I didn't get any of that time left, but it's not to say powerful to say, but I talked to her 4 times and we had closure, and she apologized for not talking to me. She didn't know another way to handle it. And so that's why I share all that, to not judge someone, because I can't imagine having been her, knowing her prognosis, leaving behind her love of her life, her little brother who was no longer going to have family. I know what it's like to be that person with no family. So I don't know what it's like to be that other person on the other end, not leaving Scott, but passing away, something she could not control. So I'm not going to judge her. So people need to stop judging others. It's a waste of energy. And I've realized through everything, even some distant family members I'm distancing myself with, like cousins and stuff, stop judging people. No one knows someone's full story. Stop judging people. And that's something new. I really want to get a point across that. Stop judging people, because it's a waste of energy and time. We're never going to know someone else's full story. And that's something I've really realized that I just want to share. Try to be uplifting and positive, but that I just try to keep it real with that now as well. It's just something it's on my heart that I really wanted to, talk about, because it's such a waste. Everyone's going to do what they want to do, and just do the best you can. If you're worrying about someone else with things you can't control, that kind of goes along with what we talk about, worrying about things we can't control. And that's why I do my 10 miles every day and watch what I eat. That's about all I can control about me, and do the best I can for me mentally, physically, and emotionally. So that's I didn't mean to go on a tangent again, but I share that with my sister stuff because I don't want anyone I share that because that's real life, but not to judge, because I'm not judging her. So I don't need anyone else to, but that's part of my story. We talked 4 times, but at the end, part of those 4 times were at the end, she apologized. She didn't even need to apologize, but that's the closure we have. We talk about being able to move forward and just, I don't know. I've never liked move on. I think move forward, because life will still go on with them or without them, but moving forward in life, because they would want us to. I don't want to move on. I want to move forward.
Absolutely. Well, Scott, I could talk to you for hours, but unfortunately, we do have to wrap it up. So thank you so very much for it. I will kind of recap all of your points here in just a second. But where can folks find you if they want to keep following your journey?
Absolutely. So the main one, I guess, would be Instagram, Scott_inspires. I do have a website. It's kind of light, but has a good bit of my story on there. And then it's same with Twitter, is the same handle, at Scott_inspires. But I would say try to do stories all the time, and try to, again, I try to be as inspirational as I can day to day. I'm a human, but I do the best I can. And Instagram, definitely Scott_inspires.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here on the show. It is truly an honor. And I think I speak for everyone when I say you have been through so much, and you are living exactly what you're preaching, which is so refreshing and so beautiful. You are using your losses for good, and you're controlling what you can control. You've got a positive mindset. You're not judging people. I mean, my gosh, throughout your whole story, there's signs of you not judging folks who have hurt you. And I think that is so inspirational. So everybody, give Scott a huge thank you in the comment section. I know I am so grateful for him. I can't wait to see where his journey takes him. So I will see all of you guys next week. Again, head to mickyspear.com. Make sure you're on my email list. I am so excited to share Felt the Sun with you, as well as podcast updates and everything else. You all are awesome. I am so grateful for you. And together, we will heal the world. Bye, everyone.